So we can have better doctors and be better at the hospital, thanks also to that data. So it's again like the terrorist, the terrorist, we want to track terrorists, or do we want to be tracked ourselves? It's again kind of the same situation, very, very difficult. Okay, so the current challenges for me mostly are technological. We have technical aspects and also the part of education, so it's both of them for me. So, and that is just my personal opinion. We will see in the transcourse of the day what the other speakers say. But for me, for example, it's like if we have Facebook, we can actually download all the data of our friends. There is something called API, and there you can basically, I did that years ago. I downloaded the data of my friends, and I did an analysis, a cluster of the information. So it's not, that you need to be a hacker. These tools have APIs that let you use the information of the users, right, to analyze or for research or so on. So that is, for example, Cambridge Analytica, what happened, and this is actually affecting our democracy too. So basically, we need to regulate services. I'm not a fan of services that are free. Anything that is for free, you are the product. In IT, there is nothing for free. Computers cost, electricity cost, engineers cost a lot. So if someone in IT is offering you a service for free, you are being the product. So be aware of that. Then we need educational tools, and we need technologies also that allow us to become the owner of our data. And in that, I actually have some good news. There are two recent technologies. The last 2 years, these two teams have been working very hard on creating technology in a way that we become the owners of the data. It's still, they are suffering a bit from being a startup, so I actually hope that some of them succeed. There are two that I'm involved with, so I really, really hope that these teams make it. So Holochain, we are going to prepare here to have some meetups here in Digitizer, working also on awareness on these technologies. Of course, we will need developers that actually learn also the technology, because I can talk about them, but I'm not the one programming the tools, So we need more and more developers doing this. This is an American team, and we have also a Belgian team, the Threefold Network. So we are also going to have some meetups here in Digitizer, and look at the website. They are doing great things. It's still, I really hope they can make it. It's a startup. They are competing against Facebook, who has millions and billions of money, and startups have little money. So I really hope they make it. So there are some good news. The last 2 years, people are more and more and more aware of this, and that the technology basically needs to change. Okay? And okay, so we are ready for some questions.
Wow. Thank you very, very much. I hope everyone's learned a lot, but I feel like I've learned so much from reputation to suicide to our movements being tracked, downloading on Facebook. Thank you so much. A huge round of applause for Liliana.
Thank you very much.
So we have a little time for you to ask questions, and there's a couple of ways that you can ask questions. Some of you have already started that on Slido, so I can maybe read out some questions from Slido. And we also have a microphone. If anyone wants to stand up and ask a question, that's also another way. So older school and newer school. And so one of the questions I have here is from Damien. I created a Google account 15 years ago and agreed to the terms and conditions back then. Shouldn't I be able to withdraw my consent as I learn more?
Oh, great. Well, terms and conditions have changed a lot. So basically, you have to like they at some point last year they sent a renewal, and they said our terms of conditions have changed. So you have probably received already an email like that. So probably you have already agreed to the new terms and conditions. Probably. In any case, it's quite challenging when you are a user of a tool for 15 years to stop it, right? So that's a challenge. There are in any case alternatives. So it is possible to change and to use other services, like more your own service, like you set up your own email account. You go to, for example, a company called Combel, and you set up your, lilianacarrillo.com email, for example, or something like that, So you don't depend on those services. But once you depend, you are basically agreeing on their conditions. And their conditions, we saw already, they are sharing a lot of data. And they are using the data. They don't really read your email, but the data that is shared, for example, when we write an email, they use all that information to train their algorithms and for natural language understanding. So basically, all that information is information to train their algorithms and to create better technology, but also to become richer, because these companies are just incredibly rich, and they are rich because we share information, we share our data with them. Without data, there is no artificial intelligence.
Wonderful, thank you. We have one other question up there, which is not so much for you. So I'm gonna. It's a collaborative. But it's very simple to answer. It's from Ellen, and she says, "How is it possible that the percentage sum is above 100%? Because we let you have multiple answers on that one question. The other one wasn't. Does that make sense? Because your data, people could say bad things about you in public, and they could also say bad things about you in private. So you could answer both. Wonderful. Okay." Our next question is from, I am going to do such a bad name pronouncing your name. Mitiana, thank you. Mitiana Aton, I'm going with. The young children and teenagers who make social media accounts on Google, does Google hold their information or ask for consent to those who are underage or their parents, even if it's for educational purposes? So young children.
Yes. These services, most of them have an age, a minimum age, and it's 13 years old. So basically, if you want to create an account for your kids and they are younger, you have to be the responsible of the account. But kids also lie. They want to belong to the society. These are tools that they see us, They see us using Facebook, they see us using email. They also want to belong. And a way to belong, for belonging in a society is doing what we do, right? So it's something natural. So they basically can go and create an account and they see, okay, I'm too young. Okay, I will change the year. I did it myself, by the way. When I was, I had my email at a very young age, and I also did it. So I don't know who else have maybe lied filling a form, or you were too young, but I did it myself. Yeah. For my kids, what I did is, since my husband and me have been working on artificial intelligence, so we are really working on high tech for quite long, and we have a lot of technology at home. What I did was to create an account that I control with them. So basically, we have a Lily Delphine kind of account, and we control it together. There is also parental control. For example, Microsoft allows you to create your family, so you can create also profiles. Like I'm the head of my family, and I have my husband's account, my kids' accounts, and I control what everyone is kind of doing. I get messages from so you can do things, but it's challenging.
Thank you. Does anybody want to sort of more old school stand up and ask a question? No, we like tech. Okay, we'll go with Damien's question then. Okay, So, Damien, you're going to hear from later also, but Damien says, if I'm trying to get a promotion, is it ethical to speak badly online about other people looking for that same promotion?
Well, I don't find it ethical, you know, but but those are things that actually happen online, you know. It seems a joke, but people actually do those kind of things. So to lower the reputation of someone, you can do it in private, you know. You can, but normally, if you are applying for a company with good reputation, you don't even know who is your competitor, right? So it's yeah, I don't find it ethical, but it can happen. Yeah.
Thank you. So
You're
last
welcome.
question that I have for
Okay.
you. If there were 3 tips you had for us to all protect ourselves, to protect our data a little bit more, what would they be?
Switch off your phone. I would say, one, be more mindful of what you are doing online. Like, we are using the services, but please be careful where you are liking, you know, all what you are liking on Facebook or on several platforms, in a way that your personal identity is protected and it's not being used by the algorithms to even promote you with things, with advertisement, for example, right? So be mindful. I would say also take care of your personal health. Technology is really made right now to link and to attract us so much to technology that often we go to bed with our phone, right? So take care of your health. I would say keep times off and make it conscious. For example, at home, on the weekend, we don't use technology, so you will almost never receive an email from me on a weekend. In the evenings, we switch off technology, so be mindful of that.
So switch off your phone, be careful what you like, and be careful what your relationship is with tech. Look after your health.
Yeah, your health.
Thank
Yep.
you so much, Liliana.
You're
Another
welcome.
huge round of applause for Liliana. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wow. I am actually, I don't know if I'm a tech Luddite or not, but I didn't realize there was so much of a huge difference between switching off your phone and having your phone on airplane mode. So I think I'm going to start switching off my phone a lot more. We have another question for you. Do you care about how your data is used? Yes, a lot, a little, no, I don't know. Maybe one person's answered yes a lot. Has everyone decided not to answer, or or it's just a little slow? It takes a little while to connect. Okay. Ah. Oh, yes. It says 39% a little, 54% a lot, and somehow that's not carrying through onto the big screen. Thank you for pointing that out to me. It's like my internet at home. I have 2 Wi-Fi connections, and I've decided to get rid of one because they're both kind of useless. Okay, so we have 58% say a lot, 37% say a little, and only a total of 6% say no or I don't know, 3 and 3%. So most people care either a lot or a little about how their data is used. Now let's go on to the next question, which seems not to be translating up there either. But do you read/open the terms and conditions before clicking accept or downloading an app? And what's happening here is there's a lot on the never and the rarely. A few of you have clicked often, and I imagine probably 1 or 2 people have clicked yes, always. So we are, most people either never or rarely. That's about 30 to 40% in each of those categories, and then 20% often and 6% yes. So, most people, we care about how our data is used, but we don't care enough to read the terms and conditions. And this is exactly what the research that our next speaker, Gianluca, is going to talk to you about is all about. So over to you, Gianluca. Enlighten us on what 20,000 people have responded.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just was wondering if even Slido knows that we are debating about digital footprint on the platform. But
Yes,
just
it's being shy.
yeah, of course. Okay, so there is the clicker somewhere. Yeah, thank you. The research was run and took by the European Digital Learning Network. So just allow me a couple of minutes to educational center, with the schools, with the citizens on the areas. We have so far 25 members, but still growing, representing 16 countries in Europe, and we have associations, we have ICT education service providers, schools, educational center in terms of adult education, for instance, or vocational education, ICT experts. So a very wide range of expertise in order to trying to meet the best possible what are our objectives and aims. Doing what, actually speaking? For example, we are very active in trying to bring into initiatives, projects could be funded by the EU and not only, or not necessarily funded by public money, digital competencies, which is something very high on our agenda. For example, creating new or innovative curricula, new job profile, for example, trying to anticipate the needs that the labor market will have in few years by now. We are very, very also fond of, if I can use this word, of trying in using all the European qualification frameworks in terms of digital, which is something still a lot and so on. For that, we have 4 working groups inside the network, each one dedicated to a given sector of the education, from the school to the vocational training, adult and higher education, and each one developing studies, researches, projects, initiatives according to the topic. Now, in the framework of our activity, for example, time by time, we launch European studies or European surveys, like this one was 2 years ago, trying to investigate about the future of digital education and training in the EU, and the digital footprint awareness, which is the reason why we are today with you debating the digital footprint awareness of the European citizens. But what is the digital footprint awareness? I think that probably it's much clearer now after Liliana also scare us somehow. But the digital footprint awareness we can define more or less like the trail of data we leave behind us when going online or when using any kind of apps or any kind of online services. So there is an enormous quantity of data out there at the professional level, at personal level, in a private life, as we have learned and we are learning today. And so are we aware about that? This was the preliminary questions 1 year and a half already ago, when we start thinking who knows what is the situation, the state of the art in Europe. Let's try to investigate. And so that was, the roots where the research were run. So we launched this research in July 2018 until August 2019. It was open and run. And it was a self-sustaining research. This is something that we are very proud of. So we used no public money. It was completely run by our own resources to get data in 13 languages. It was a great effort we put into the research because the idea was to open it to as many people as possible, so meeting almost all the main languages in Europe. And thanks to that, we got almost 20,000 responses, almost 13,000 coming from women, almost 11,000 aged between 26 and 50 years old, and almost 14,000 by employed people which declare to have an intermediate digital skills. We got responses from all over Europe and beyond, considering that many answers came from US, from China, from Japan, from Australia. But in Europe, there were some examples of, countries which assured a wider participation, like United Kingdom, Belgium, France, and all the countries you see there. And when we start studying the data, here I will just give you a roughly idea about the main outcomes. Of course, the full report will be published in a few weeks after we collect the feedback of the day, but there is a copy there for consultation. You can, of course, consult. We learned that, for example, 80%, thanks Liliana for mentioning these very important data. 80% of people do not read the privacy text before, for instance, downloading a new app or using an online service. So we just are, proud of clicking quickly the app, for example, because we need to use and to interact with it and so on. 81% try, fortunately, to be more mindful of what they are posting online. 92% pay particular attention with the disclosure of financial information, and I will just show myself a few seconds later on reflecting on these data. And 78% have recently changed the privacy setting on the social media or on the tools they use for interacting online. It's not only those data that we can reflect on, but for example, we know that 70% acknowledge that they are not in full control of their digital identity. 50% would like their data to remain private, but we know also that the rest of the panel say that on some extent they would agree that their data will be used on some conditions. and 72% suggest that social media companies should provide more opportunity for media education. This is also a surprise for me, probably not for you, but something to reflect on. And finally, 78% of the respondents think that the social media when studying and reading the data, I notice a misunderstanding on the issue, on the definition, if you want, related to the digital footprint. Because how to explain otherwise the fact that while 80% of the people doesn't pay attention when clicking yes, I accept your terms, your contract, your conditions, but then saying that, and 90% say that, 92% say that I pay a lot of attention when the data impacts on financial information. So the people take care a lot about, you know, the money we have in our pocket, but we should pay the same attention about, for example, data we do not perceive as, you know, confidential, as a private or even as a professional. Also, something that I liked so much is the indication coming from the data when the people, the citizens, think that social media companies or IT companies, generally speaking, should work and should help the people to better manage their own digital footprint. I read this indication as the fact that our life is nowadays too permeate about the presence of these social media companies. So why we should not deal with them in creating a framework in which our data are more protected? Why we are thinking to those companies like our counterpart? Probably we should start thinking to these companies like our partners, to whom find together the solutions to this issue of the digital footprint. And finally, European citizens are asking to enhance their awareness. So I think the indication from the panel responding to our survey was clear. We want more education on these aspects. So here, the additional, you know, thinking is, for example, should we increase training opportunities to trigger the sense of responsibilities for personal data shared online? Question mark. I think yes, because if we want to today discuss about, in particular, having in front of us the educational point of view, I think that we could not skip this opportunity. We have to work to provide the people more training opportunities for better understanding what's behind and whatever is behind a click or an I like post. For example, another question coming on my mind, reading the data, probably is the case that we should start educating people from an early stage, and I'm thinking to children. So here the reflections I would like also to explore your thinking about, shall we start dealing with the schools, with the first classes in the schools, and so start dealing with the children, which will become future consumers, future citizens. So probably this is an action we should take up. And then also, I'm sure that cybersecurity, for example, is something very important for us, but at least it was happening to me first time I heard this very complicated word, cybersecurity, what cybersecurity is. Probably an action we should reflect to put into action is to simplify some concepts, some tools, in order to give we as a people the right tools to defend ourselves. So cybersecurity can become, and cybersecurity is just an example, can become something simple which can also be used by us. So simplification. And finally, shorten the distance between social media companies, whatever is the name, and we as a user in order to, for example, activate or create a feedback loops and assistance on how to use better social media, internet, whatever, the net, in order to reduce the harmful behaviors we can even unconsciously have during our daily activity on social media. I'm totally convinced myself, of course, and now that's why sharing this kind of reflection and going to conclude my presentation. We have around us a lot of free of charge services. Every day they are offering us the possibility to have tools, to have solutions, to have methodologies, to have everything free of charge. But now I'm wondering if under these offers, this system, the free of charge system, I should think that it's really free of charge, because it does not seem like so to me. It means that the free of charge system is one of the oldest way in the marketing, in the commercial, approach to get data, to get information. The difference is nowadays that these data are physically stored somewhere. So data we are talking, it's not something in the cloud, really in the cloud. It's not air. Data is something also physical that it's stored somewhere and can be used for, in the best cases, for sending me, very targeted promotional offers for purchasing goods or services. But in the worst cases, can be used to drive my political, for example, approach on the on the wrong way. So this is a reflection, because otherwise, if I agree to this kind of reflection, so that the free of charge is not really free of charge, I risk to do not consider that then I'm the product for those companies. And if I'm the product, it means that those companies are benefiting from my data, for example, for having profit. Profit is something that is absolutely reasonable, but then why I should not participate to getting benefits from the use of my data those companies are are using? And it's not a case that even in Brussels, in these times, there are slowly starting discussions about the fact that probably in a near future, people should get paid for offering the authorization of using the data to those companies, because otherwise we will finish to give data without benefiting from what the data can create. Data and sharing of data, in the best case, can create know-how, can create more sustainability, more inclusion. But the fact is that I, as a person, I would like also to have a better control and benefiting somehow of the use of my data. And so probably I will get paid, question mark. So something that probably we can discuss together. Finally, it's time now to debate. We have started with the beautiful presentation from Lila. We will follow with the panel. So it's now to debate. It's now to start sharing what we think. And so my invitation is again the same. Be active, all of us. Be curious today and be open. Don't be shy, because I repeat myself, this is your conference and not only our conference. Thanks for your attention, and I will give you the floor, hopefully, for next people speaking, for next speakers.
Thank you so much, Gianluca, for bringing
You're welcome.
us this amazing research. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have one comment on this that I'm just going to read out from Damien. I think educating children about digital ethics is really hard because we adults don't understand them fully. So don't we need continuous education of children and adults on digital footprint, which itself is changing every day? And so we have that, and we heard from Gianluca that people want more education. So next, we're going to hear from two people who are running training programs, and we're going to hear their experience and what advice they have for policymakers. So please join us, Brikena and Katarzyna, to tell us all about the wonderful work that you are doing. Welcome. There we go.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Katarzyna Pijinska. I'm coming from Increase, the coordinator of the DIGIT project. And that's the project I will have a pleasure to present to all of you. We have had two great presentations setting great the scene of the realities we are facing nowadays in relation to digital footprint, digital identity. And the results of the survey they also say a lot and kind of prove the need and justify greatly the project we have been running for 2 years. So DIGIT, full title, Boost Competencies for Responsible Identity, is a project that has been funded of the support and fund from the Erasmus Plus program. It's a strategic partnership for adult education. So although today the event and the conference is broader scope, in general we are discussing the role of education. Our project was really focusing on adult education, so also in line, because there are already also many initiatives dealing with children and kids, but we also thought that, we cannot forget about the adults. So the project has been running for almost 2 years now, it's almost finishing. So it's this event today is also the final conference of the DIGIT project, and that's why I would like to share with you and present a little bit what we have been doing and what we have achieved. So, welcome to DIGIT. You have also in your folder some information and some flyers of the website, which we hope you visit later and get a full grasp of all the materials we have. The aim of our project has been to boost the adult educators' competencies in relation to the concept of the digital footprint, and also support them with the creation of tools and materials that could be easy for them to use to enhance this with the adults they are working with. And as I said, really the focus here was the adult educators and adult citizens as such. So that was the main target group for us. Okay. The partnership that we have gathered for implementing this project was 7 organizations from 7 European countries, and many of them, or most of them, you can meet today here in person and discuss more. So these are the names. It was very important, not just the geographical wide coverage of 7 countries, but also cross-sector approach of this consortium, of the partnership. So to have representatives from adult education entities themselves, but also from research, learning, European networks that are hosting us here today as well. So that was important to have different perspectives and different competencies in the partnership to achieve what has been planned. Because we did, for the whole partnership, we did have set quite ambitious objectives for these 2 years of the project. So we, of course, wanted to raise awareness about the concept of digital footprint and, as I said, create the right tools and materials for educators and for adults themselves to help them to be digitally competent citizens and behave well online and know more, have more awareness about all the consequences and implications. So we also are studying a little bit with the different stakeholders the implications related to personal digital footprint and identity, online identity. And at the end with this aim to create the tools and materials. So we have set up also for those ambitious objectives a methodology to follow along the 2 years. I will not go into detail of that, because, but it seems like yesterday that we're starting with our focus group meetings, but it's already 2 years that has passed, and we have achieved a lot through this going through the milestones of the project, of starting with the focus groups and first developing the guidelines for educators, based on which we then really created the training paths and built and developed all the contents, which were further then tested and piloted in all the partner countries with many groups of educators and adults themselves. And we are very happy because the feedback has been mostly really great and positive on the quality and usefulness of the results we have produced. So both the adults and the educators found them really very helpful. So they were in line with, as Januka presented, the needs and what are the gaps that we are trying to fill. So of course the Digit project does not solve everything, and it's not an answer for everything, but in the area of adult education, it's already a good step ahead for achieving and helping and having those tools and materials that can really be very helpful to raise awareness. So, and we are almost finishing, as I said, so we are close to achieving and publishing our really final results. A lot of the materials are already available on our website, which I hope you have. We're trying to be digital, so you didn't get in your folder all the materials in paper, but some of them are already available for download on our project website. And the final results will be also in policy recommendations, for which we hope you will contribute for the shaping them further today, will also be available there. So all that methodology was also, of course, happening with not just with the partners and the partnership. Along the 2 years, we have had a lot of events, meetings, as I said, focus groups, piloting of adults. So just show you the sample that there were a lot of people involved along the 2 years, and we are grateful for this very active participation of many stakeholders, educators, adults themselves, citizens, but also some experts on the digital footprint and other related topics, for the great participation in this and helping us achieving the final results. So what we have achieved, in fact, is there are just examples here. One of the first results was the Digit Manifesto and the guidelines for educators, which is it's a publication and a document that contains guidelines for educators how to use the Digit materials as well, how they can shape and define the training paths and courses, or just as a standalone workshop. So the materials and the guidelines provided are very flexible, so it can be easily adapted by people who work with adults as trainers, as educators, as facilitators for different contexts. It does not have to be a fixed course of number of hours or so on. They can really freely use and adapt those materials and tools. And this manifesto is providing those guidelines how to do this. And part of it is the 20 useful tips, a small document. This one I believe you have in your folder. If not, it's available there for takeaway. So this is something you can easily use. And this is not just for educators, for any adult. So hopefully use and follow the tips we have designed. But the ultimate goal also was not just the guidelines, but the content and the Digit training program itself. And that was the second main output that we have been working on, especially in the last months and the second year of the project. And those training materials were in line with the guidelines and all the needs we have identified along the process at the beginning of the project. So the materials are divided in 4 modules, and all of them have this similar structure. So we try to put them in a nice way. As I said, they can be used in another way, adapted. But what we tested and piloted was always the same structure, with having let's start, so like introduction to each topic, dive in, which was the main materials and the content. And the last one, wrap up and assessment quiz, so have it from the perspective of educators and trainers of conclusions and so on. But that was the structure common for the modules. And what were the modules? So the training program in terms of the topics was, those were the 4 main ones. Management of personal accounts and images. The first one, very, very important one, of course. Second, online safety and security. So all that part how to stay safe online. Digital citizenship was one of the modules of SELF, because we consider this a very important part of digital citizens, and how we can take active part in citizenship, but also not just active, but also very aware and conscious. Plus, the fourth one was side effects of internet use, and this is very much related to topics that were also mentioned today, the mindfulness and being aware. So this is something we considered a very important part. So not just the more, let's say, more hard skills or important things, how to do things, but also the human part of all that, because being online and using internet, of course, is not an option anymore. That's reality for all of us, from children to adults and seniors. So it's everyone is doing this, but you really do have to have more awareness of how we're doing this, and if we're not doing right, what could be implications for our health, our daily life, and our families. So that was a dedicated module for that part too. We don't have time today, because you will be able to see those materials and go through the contents and use them, hopefully. So just some examples. I'm not going to present all of them. I hope you explore them yourself and use them. But just to show some examples, as we say, there are just print screens of some of the materials. So what we have there in those in the structure in the course are really, as you say, they could be taken as ready-to-use materials by the trainers to use. So they're available on an online platform, uploaded there, so they can be used also as e-learning tools, or could be blended learning. So it's available online in an interactive way, where there are quizzes, assessment tests, and so on. But they will be also available later on as presentations, PowerPoint presentations, that they be taken, edited, and used as needed. So just some print screens showing that different tools and different ways we have. So it's not just the material and content. There are also case studies. There are some links and examples of the videos that could be shown when at the sessions or in the training in the classes. So there are different types of material and content. And just to say, they are available in several languages. So just have another example. I'm Polish, so put here some Polish materials. But yeah, so not all European languages yet, but we hope there will be maybe people willing to take them up and translate also into other languages. They will be free to use, but they already exist in several languages, the languages of our partner countries in the project. So already good step to take them and use them. So, and as I mentioned, they are also available already, uploaded in the platform, in the Moodle platform, so quite easy to use. So for those who would like not just to use them in the classroom, but indicate for the students or for the groups to use online, that's also an easy way to use them. Okay, I think that very briefly, because that's what I have to do. I hope, as I said, that you visit the website and then check more in detail our results. During the day, we'll have continue discussing the topic of digital footprint, and also in the afternoon, the workshops that we have prepared for you, somehow tackling the topics of the modules and all the topics and the contents that we have developed in the Digit project. So that's also all connected, and we don't want to repeat and just have the Digit as on the agenda for today, because there's much more about digital footprint. So we hope the whole day will be fruitful discussions and productive way for you to be more aware about this topic, and later on use and take a good benefit of what we have produced in this project, because we hope it can be very useful for many people in Europe. Thank you very much.
I also forgot to ask you one personal thing about you.
Oh, okay. So maybe in line with what Liana said, we do not, at my place, at my family, we do not watch that much television, let's say, of my kids, but we do spend a lot of evenings playing board games, table board games, so far from technology in the evenings too.
Wonderful, board games. And we have one comment here from Andrea, which I think it says what I was going to say wonderfully. Congratulations, Digital has created some amazing material that will help people understand how to manage their online footprint. So thank you very much. And over to you.
Thank you. So again, I will try to be very short because for some reasons I'm always between the people and the break. So that's a very uncomfortable place to be because you might be actually tired of listening to us since 9:30. So I will be very short because the point of what I'm going to present is the suggestions, recommendations that we have drawn during these 2 years on how education stakeholders should take on, and especially policymakers, how can they support education stakeholders to take on and respond to this need. But the idea is also that in the afternoon during the sessions, you tell us what you think policymakers should do and education stakeholders as well. The Lifelong Learning Platform is a European network, for those of you that don't know, that represents different sectors of education. So we bring together school heads, school organizations, student unions, youth organizations, vocational education training centers, digital learning platforms, adult education and professional training centers, universities, and so on and so on. So it's quite a diverse group of organizations representing the actual stakeholders that are dealing with this issue, or they are trying to deal with this issue. And for you, for those who probably didn't attend the Education Summit in September, it was focused on teachers. And one of the main issues that teachers were facing and they would like to address is their training, to be trained on actually digital skills, to cope with the classroom, with young people that know better than them. So I will try to be quick. I will probably skip the data because Gianluca, you did a great job with your results of the survey. So I will probably skip this, and I will have it anyway later on. So yeah, I mean, very quickly, this is coming from the European Parliament Research Center, where they have identified in 2017 that half of 11 to 16 years old have encountered at least one internet risk. And 51% of the citizens think they are not prepared or informed to deal with cyber threats. So there is a need, and an urgent need, for all different stakeholders, and in particular the education stakeholders, to raise public awareness about this issue and to address the need for skills. The European political context. Well, you will have in the panel after more the debate about what's going on at the European level. I'm hoping that the person from the Commission will also give us an update, but I can give you my perspective to this political context. I don't know how aware you are, but now digital is indeed quite a hot topic at European level. It's on the top of the agenda. The new Commission, starting the mandate very soon, has made this a priority, and in particular, the Digital Education Action Plan, which action number 7 specifically looks into the issues of cybersecurity and would like to address the issue of increased awareness on the risks. So we hope that this will actually translate into concrete actions and concrete initiatives, but also follow up with funding. So funding through Erasmus+, the European Social Funds, that is also aiming to address specifically the basic digital skills for adults, as it was highlighted being one of the major target groups that very often is being neglected. Indeed, we do have a European strategy for a better internet for children, but we don't have so for adults. And the demographic of European Union shows that we still have a majority of elder people. So we need to address that, and especially as the technology develops much more faster than the education system, we need to find a way to address these two-speed developments. The new skills agenda for Europe, the new commissioner for jobs has said that he will revise the new skills agenda. The new skills agenda for Europe, adopted in 2016, had a specific action on digital skills and jobs. So that's, we will hope that with the new commissioner, instead of revising, which happens very often at EU level, we keep revising initiatives, which might be very good, but we never look at the implementation, what happened with those initiatives. So our main suggestion as education stakeholders would be, let's build up on initiatives that exist, extend European strategy for a better internet for children, maybe to young adults and adults. And of course, build on the initiatives and focusing on the implementation of these initiatives, because we are far away from actually implementing them. So very quickly, the lifelong learning work on the digital education. So we have been highlighting, and I hope you agree with us, that digital competencies, contrary to what we hear in the political context at the moment, is not only for labor market needs. Very often we talk of automation and the need for skills to address these new jobs that will be created, which we have no clue of what they would look like. But we also need digital skills for living in the society, like this conference is all about how we are able to, how we affect our well-being, how digital is affecting our well-being as well. So it's very important for the life as well. It is, the digital is also quite a cross-cutting issue, so you would believe that education should address it, but actually there are so many stakeholders in there. It's one of the most transversal issues. It's so many different DGs have been working on it. Digital single market DG was just one of them. DG Education and Culture was also addressing. As the same at the national level, different ministries address the issue of digital. And that only reflects on the fact that we need to bring all these different stakeholders together to build these initiatives together, instead of having them in developing them in silos, because what's happened then, that we address the issues separately in different contexts rather than having a bigger view on them. Policies that respond to all educators and learners' needs. One of the main mission of the platform is to put the learner and the educator at the heart of all the policy developments, and I think this should be one of the main recommendations that we should bring to the policymakers at European level. In 2017, the Lifelong Learning Platform developed a position paper, quite an extensive one, with researchers' support, on how to reimagine education in the digital age. And one of the main, let's say, thoughts of the paper was that people should be at the heart of the process, and they should be able to actively regulate their own learning, training, and upskilling without being reduced to passive consumers of technology. So for us, education is empowerment, giving people the power to decide for their own, rather the other way around. Very often we speak of the future as we don't know, but actually if we empower the people with the right skills and education, they can shape it. So that's the aim of today as well, to think about how can we empower the people through education. So very quickly, these are the very main, let's say, not very developed, because we would like you to develop them further in the afternoon. So what we would suggest, of course, like I already said, provide the necessary resources and tools to educators, because it was mentioned the educators indeed need to be prepared for this. Boost educators' competences in order to help people understand digital issues, implications, and side effects and misuse. Easy the learning process in a family context. We shouldn't neglect family, parents. It was mentioned by you as well, and I think it's very important because the first learning starts there. Provide the right instruments for citizens in order to promote conscious use of the broader concept of online identity. And to the policymakers, we would like to ask, of course, that the European strategy for better internet for children extended to adults as well. We would like to also suggest boosting digital footprint awareness, and competences should become a policy and a funding priority for most of the EU programs, such as the ones that I mentioned before. More consistency and synergies across policy sectors and EU at national level. It's needed. We give it for granted, but it's very important. And mainstream courses on digital footprint related issues in formal education, starting as early as possible, like Gianluca said in the results. It's also very needed while addressing the need of the major population group that we have in Europe. And I think that's all. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. We didn't get your personal fact about you.
I sleep with my phone. But just because in case somebody is calling, I'm always feeling responsible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you to both of these wonderful ladies for the wonderful work they do. Thank you. So we have a couple of concrete ideas up there that are coming up. If you want to add any ideas or thoughts, please go ahead. Hopefully you are feeling like you have received a lot of fuel and information this morning and for your discussions later on this afternoon. We have a coffee break now and we're running a little bit late, so I'm going to give you 20 minutes coffee break. So please be back here at 11:35, sitting down. During your coffee break, feel free to reply to this question and, of course, discuss everything that you've heard this morning. I look forward to seeing you in 20 minutes. Thank you very much.